Hello everyone, welcome back again with the new video. I am thrilled to announce one powerful tool for creation of the blockchain network and simplify the process of network creation easier. So this tool will be mainly focused for creation of the boilerplate code of the Hyperledger Fabric network. Along with that, it will create a working code for the API, Caliper and the Explorer. Let's consider we have a requirement of n number of organizations. Let's consider 5 organizations are there. And if you wanted to create a blockchain network, each organization have different number of peers and there would be a number of channel as well, like 6 to 7 channels. So in that case, initial setup is really cumbersome and it's time consuming. So this tool will simplify the process of creation of that boilerplate code, and you can just use this code and create the blockchain network. So we are going to see that all the details in this demo video. Here on the screen, we can see there are different kind of features this tool provides. We can create any kind of custom fabric network. Second, we can configure n number of organizations and the peers. After that, we can just define any number of channels and the chain code. And finally, create the boilerplate code. So this boilerplate code will have blockchain network code, Explorer, Caliper, and the API. These are the main feature. On the screen, we can see this is the URL customfabric.bytehas.tech, and in the login screen, we have to use our Gmail account. Any Gmail account is more than sufficient. So when I'm just logging in, okay, so once we log in, we can see there are very few tabs here: create request, all request, and user profile. On the first page itself, we can create the custom network, and this is the interface. There are some instructions we have to follow. The organization name should not have space. Maximum 20 organization can be configured, because I tested with the 20 organization on this. Explorer and Caliper will be configured for the first organization. So basic API structure will be provided for the asset operations like create and get. For orderer number, make sure we have 357. The odd number of orderers, I would say. Facing any kind of issue, always we can connect with me on the WhatsApp. Here is the WhatsApp icon where you can just connect with me. And the channel name and the chain code name should contain only lowercase numbers and hyphen with no spaces. Okay, so these are the basic instructions we have to follow. Now, what kind of inputs we have to provide here? Let's consider supply chain. Supply chain is the project. Okay, so current version it's supporting 2.5, which is the latest one. And I have total 5 organizations or 4 organizations. It's totally up to us. We wanted to create as per the machine configuration you can create, and as per the business use case. Here, number of organization 4. I'm just configuring it. And first organization would be the order organization, and remaining organization would be the peer organization. So we have mentioned 4 because orderer organization would be the default one, and the other 4 peer organization will get added into the table. We can just update the organization name and the number of peers inside that organization. So I'm just going to keep as it is same. But if you wanted to update it, you can feel free to update this data. Any organization name you can provide: manufacturer, distributor, retailer. It's up to you. After that, once we have this 4 organization, how many channels we wanted to create, we have to configure it here. Let's consider I wanted to create 3 channels. Here I am mentioning 3 and configuring the channels. Again, in the channel section as well, we can configure like which organization should be part of that channel. Okay, my channel 1. So I just provided by default name, but it's up to you. You can just change it. Okay, let's consider I wanted to have this first channel with organization 1, 2, 3, 4. That's correct. Second channel will be configured for organization 1 and 2 only. Saving. And third channel would be organization 1 and 4. Okay. All right. So these 3 channels will get created automatically. And here by default, this Caliper version 0.6, API Fabric Gateway I'm using 2.5, and the Blockchain Explorer version 2.0. This code will automatically get created. We have to just submit, and we'll be able to see this project details. And here, when we click on the view, we'll be able to see this is the configuration. Okay, but where is the code? So this code will get generated immediately when you click on the submit icon. When I click on this download button, so one file will get downloaded automatically. Here we can see this file got downloaded. Now I'm just opening this file. This file have two things, API and the blockchain. So how we can run the network. So I will show you that part in the form of demo. But before that, you can just create any kind of networks here. Create network. Again, you can just come here and create a new network if you want. And by default, whenever you buy a credit on this screen itself, right? So when you click on the buy credit, so there would be some specific pricing. And for that pricing, you will get two number of networks. Right now, the pricing is showing like 999. And with this pricing, you will be able to create two blockchain network. I already have sufficient credit, so I'm not doing this transaction. But if you wanted to have additional networks, you can always come here and just buy this credit, and these two network will be able to create for every time when you do the purchase. All right, so we will be able to see all the requests here, and you can download your blockchain network here always. Now, downloaded folder we wanted to run, right, as a demo. Now we are going to run the downloaded folder and just create a blockchain network from the scratch. How we can do it? So let's jump onto the VS Code and see that. All right, so this is the VS Code. I'm just opening those downloaded folder here. All right, so API and the blockchain, these are the two folders. So I will show you the folder structure. First of all, in the blockchain, we have artifacts, Explorer, and the performance tools. If you are new to this, just try to understand the folder structure. Once you have done these operations, you will be able to do any kind of network and the modification in the existing network. In the blockchain, we have artifacts, Explorer, performance, and the script. And API folder is totally separate. Here, I wanted to show you in the artifacts, channel, create certificate with CA, and the Docker file. So we have selected 5 peer organization. By default, one order organization would be there. So code for 5 certificate authority will get created because 4 peer are there and one orderer organization. So total 5 organizations would be there here. Okay, 5 services for as a certificate authority. And here, create certificate with CA. One script will get created. Next one. So we have here channel creation script and one more thing, Docker compose file here. Inside the Docker compose file, we have all the services required for creation of the blockchain network. As we have specified 4 peer organizations, so there would be a total 4 peer and 3 ordering organizations services. And for each peer, there will be a by default one CouchDB. So total see these number of services would be there. Now, how to run this network? The first thing, I wanted to have the prerequisite. The first thing, we need to have prerequisite installation on our machine. Right now, we are configuring our blockchain network for version 2.5. So make sure we have this installation already on our machine. If you do not have, I will be providing this document and just follow it and just try to have the same configuration. Okay. So these are the tools and the version: curl, git, docker latest version, docker compose latest version, go version. If we have your Chaincode in the go, then only we require. Right now, this tool will create a blockchain network boilerplate code in the JavaScript Chaincode. Node.js is required 20 and npm 10 version. Okay, installation process, again, you can just follow the steps if you do not have, or if you already have, you can just keep it. Node.js we require 18 or 20, maybe just make sure here we have 20. Okay, Docker and Docker Compose, you can just follow the official documentation, or you can just follow this as well. It will just download the Docker. After that, we can validate all the versions of the different tools which we have installed, which are required. So this is important thing. This is important step where we are just downloading all the Fabric samples. You can see there is a script at this. We are making curl request to this URL, and it will just download that install fabric.sh file. And install fabric.sh file, we have to provide this kind of parameters: Fabric version 2.5.5 and the certificate authority 1.5.7. Okay, once we download, we'll be able to see there is a Fabric sample folder. In the Fabric sample folder, all the necessary code would be there. And specifically, we are downloading this fabric sample for the binaries required to create any kind of blockchain network. So inside this fabric sample, there would be a bin folder. Okay. So that path we have to add. So we can just run these binaries, executable binaries from anywhere. So for that purpose, we have to add this line in the bash rc file. So if you're doing on the Ubuntu, just make sure Ubuntu or Mac OS, just make sure to have this line in the bash rc file. You can just open with vim of nano, open that bash rc file, add this one line and save it. That's it. And once you add this, that's it. We will be able to start our blockchain network creation. How we can do that, I will show you. Okay, after adding this binary, we have to verify once. How we can verify? Okay, in this folder itself, I will just show you here. Peer, I'm just running peer. You will be able to see there are a lot of commands are coming. We should not get any error like peer command not found. We should get these kind of operations. It means we have successfully added that binary path in the bash rc file and we are able to execute all the binaries inside that folder from anywhere. So this is the required thing. Now we will start a blockchain network creation using the folder structure created by our tool. The boilerplate code we will be using exactly same. It will have API and the blockchain, and we will be using the same for blockchain network creation. As I'm mentioning, we have a network topology, 4 peer organization, 1 order organization, 3 channels. Okay, let's try to run this blockchain network, create the channel, deploy the Chaincode, run the Explorer, run Caliper, and finally API. Okay, so these are all the things I'm going to do in the form of demo. Let's start creating the blockchain network using this folder which created by our tool. Now inside this folder, we have two things. First is the API, second is the blockchain. And as per the README file as well, here there is a README file available. So that README file is available here. Okay, so the same file I have opened here. And from the top, we can see these are the folder structure. APIs for the CRUD operations. This API folder provide a basic CRUD operation for the blockchain network. Second, inside the blockchain, we have different folders, artifacts, explorer, performance tools, and the script. Inside the artifacts, we have a code for network configuration for all the services. Explorer have a code for running the blockchain explorer and visualize the chain of the blocks. Third one is the performance tools where we can do the performance testing of the blockchain network. And fourth is the script where we can just create the channel creation and the Chaincode deployment. That's a business logic. Okay, these are the things we have in our repository. So next one, as we have already gone through the prerequisite, we need to have that prerequisite and make sure all the binaries are able to run it. Okay. So any kind of blockchain network, when we consider to create, these are the standard steps we have to follow. Doesn't matter how many organizations we have, 1 organization, 5 organization, or 10 organization. Okay, we have to create the certificate authority for all the organization which we have to create the certificate authority for all the organizations available in our network topology. That's the first step. Second is the creation of the crypto material. So each organization will have user and some other services, like for peer organization will have peer and for orderer will have orderer. So for all the participant users and these peers and orderers, we have to create the crypto material. So that's the second step. We have to run some script and create the crypto materials, public key, private key, and the certificate. Third one is the creation of the artifacts. Okay, this is the set of rules we generally define how to create the channels and all. And that's where this channel create artifacts comes. Next one is the running all services. So after having the artifacts, we have to run the services. And inside these services, we will have peer, CouchDB, and the orderers. Once we have all these services up and running, we can just create the channel and deploy the Chaincode. Okay, these are the standard steps for creation of the blockchain network. Okay, now we are going to start with this execution. I'm just running these steps one by one. Okay, so on the home screen, I'm currently inside the file -power1 and we have this boilerplate code inside this folder, file -power1. Okay, you can see here pwd. I'm currently inside this file -power1. So I'm just running this. chmod 777 sudo chmod -r 777 *. So it will just this will just give the permissions if we are able to run that scripts and all, right? It will not ask for the permissions and all. Okay, this is the first step we have to follow. Now next we have to go in this folder. CD blockchain artifacts channel create certificate with CA. Once we are inside this folder, now we have to run Docker compose up in detach mode. Okay, so I'm just running Docker. If you have dedicated, we have just installed the Docker. So by default, compose is already there. So I'm just running Docker compose up in detach mode. It will just run all these services like for the certificate authority. So there are total 5 certificate authority. So it will just run all the certificate authority. We can see now we have all the certificate authority up and running. Now next step, we have to create certificate for all the participant in the network. Okay, I'm just running it. So this script will execute and will create 2 folders. First is the crypto config folder here inside it. And later I will show you that connection profile as well. Okay, so this crypto config folder got created, and for certificate authority as well, we have Fabric CA, which is persisted here. And this is having certificate authority, admin, public key, private key, everything here, main inside this. I mean, certificate authority itself, they have their own certificate, their database and all everything. So we are persisting here. So create certificate with CA. After that, we have to go back as per this README file and just run create artifacts. There are 3 channels. Okay, 3 block will get created here in the channel artifact. So you can see here my channel 1 dot block, my channel 2 dot block, and 3. Again, we have to go back in the artifacts. Okay, so currently I'm inside artifacts. Just run Docker compose up in detach mode. Okay, so this will run all the PS services, CouchDB, and the orderer. We have all this up and running. Now next thing, go back, go to the script folder, / scripts, and here we have different files. Inside the script, create channel, create my channel.sh. Okay, so we are just going to create all the channels one by one. Create channel 1.sh. Create channel 2.sh. Create channel 3.sh. Okay, all 3 channels we are creating, and we'll start deploying the chain code as well. / deploy chaincode 1.sh. So it will just download first the dependencies for the chain code. Right now we're using chain code as a block Node.js, and inside the chain code, this is just a basic asset creation, create asset and get asset. That's it, not more than that. Okay, so this is very basic smart contract we have. Just consider that, and you can have your own. It's up to you. So inside the README file, you can change as per your network topology. Right now we have here for only one channel, but in case if you have multiple channels, so we have to execute that number of times. So here we are done with the chain code deployment for the first channel. Deploy chain code 2. This will deploy on the second channel. Same chain code we are using right now. It is just for the sample testing purpose, but you can have your own smart contract, each different smart contract for each different channel. Once we're done, next one is deploy chain code 3. Okay. All these 3 channels have their own individual smart contract, which is getting deployed. Now 3 channels and 3 chain codes are there in the network. We can access our CouchDB here. Before that, I wanted to do the Explorer setup. So I will just show you the CouchDB immediately fast. Okay, by default, CouchDB admin and admin PW is the password. You can log in and just see the data. My channel chain code 1, we can see here, and the simple basic data is there. Okay. I just added ID and test data. Okay, this is just the basic things. You can update as per your requirement. Okay, next thing, Explorer part. We'll try to run the Explorer on the behalf of organization one. As I mentioned, this boilerplate code has created the Explorer for the channel, first channel of first organization. So in our case, org1 is the first channel, first organization. CD blockchain explorer and just run Docker Compose up in detached mode. That's it. So first time, if you do not have this image, it will just download it. In my case, this is already downloaded. So that's why it just running it directly. So it will take around 30 seconds to just run it as per the configuration we have, machine configuration, I would say. So once we are done with this, we'll be able to access that blockchain explorer. And a blockchain explorer is running on the 8081 here. Exposed port is 8081. Okay. And for this Explorer, okay, we have to go to Explorer and Docker Compose up and running. Okay, it is started. Now go to the browser and let's open localhost 8081. Okay, by default, password is Explorer admin and Explorer admin PW, which is available in the configuration file. Okay, we can see here, this organization belongs to all the channel, right? So we'll be able to see these three channels because there are three channels. First is organization 1, 2, 3, 4. Second is 1, 2, 3, and third is I think 1, 2, if I'm not wrong. And we will be able to see all the data of the Explorer. Now coming to the Caliper, CD blockchain, performance tool, the Caliper. Okay, just run Docker Compose up in detached mode here as well. Just go there and just run it. And we have to check the log now. Docker logs Caliper -f. Okay, and inside this Caliper, we have this necessary files. You can always update it. It's as per your requirement. There is a boilerplate code already. Okay, bench config and the network config. These are the two important things. Inside the bench config, we have two create asset and a query asset. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, one thing I missed here. So make sure you don't miss it. We have to go Caliper benchmark local. In the README, I have already mentioned, if I'm not wrong, performance tool. Okay, npm install. Yes, I have already mentioned that file step actually. Npm install. Once we done the npm install, because there is one UUID package I'm using for creation of the asset ID, a random asset ID. That's why we have to run the npm install. And once it is done, now we'll be able to run it again. Just go back. Docker compose up in detached mode. I'm just running Docker logs Caliper -f. Okay. And we will be able to see these rounds are getting executed, which are defined in the config.yaml file. All we don't need to make any changes. If you wanted to have customization, then definitely you can always make the changes in the Caliper folder in the benchmark, either bench config or network config as per your requirement. It will just send 5 transactions and 10 transaction get. So we'll be able to see the final result and report will get created. And on the top of this, you can always make the changes and just run the Caliper and do the benchmarking of your network. Okay, the third part of this tool is API. We have to go API. Here run npm install. Okay, first thing. Because we have some dependency here inside the folder. Blockchain, inside the API, we have this package.json file where all the dependencies are there. I'm just running npm install. One more thing, uh, here I'm using CouchDB for storing the credentials of the user, username and the password. So that's why we require MongoDB credentials. So you can go to the atlassian.com and just run MongoDB Atlassian and create one cluster, one database there, and we have to use those credentials. Now I'm just copying this .env .example, Control C, Control V, and just rename it with the .env only. Parallelly, all the dependencies are getting downloaded. Okay, in the .env file, here we have MongoDB username, MongoDB password, MongoDB name, and finally MongoDB host. Okay, these are the things. Okay, I'm just creating a demo. Okay, and I will just copy pasting this four things. You have to get it from, you have to get this from the MongoDB Atlassian. Okay, so I'm just adding demo here, database. I will show the database as well. Okay, and these are the test credentials. Okay, in my case, these are the test credentials. I'm just using it. Control C. npm install is done now. Now we can run nodemon. Okay, if you do not have nodemon, so make sure to install it. I have mentioned here for running the API npm install. Copy .ini sample to .env. Add MongoDB credentials, and finally install Nodman Go. I already have Nodman, so I'm just running Nodman app, and our API server is up and running. So there is a Postman collection actually. By default, this will register some default user, Control P, bootstrap.js. Here we have default user and the password for the user for specific organization. For each organization, I'm creating a default one user. Max, okay, user1@gmail.com, user2@gmail.com for organization 2, and these users are getting added into the database as well as their credentials are getting created, and we'll be able to see here inside the wallet folder. Okay, inside the wallet, each organization credentials would be there for by default admin and first user. Okay, user1@gmail.com. Now from the Postman, I will just try to trigger one transactions and I will show you. Okay, so for the Postman, there is a dedicated folder in the SRC. Postman, just download this. It's a collection file.json. So we have to just download this and import into the Postman collection. Either you can import it from here or maybe drag and drop that file here. So you will be able to see this kind of interface. Okay, now I'm just logging with the user, okay, which is already there, user one, if I'm not wrong. Yes, user one. And the password is, by default password I have mentioned here, admin@12345. Okay, so I'm just sending it. Okay, okay. This user got logged in and we got a token. So using this token, we can just create asset. This token I have already added as a user token in the environment, so that we can use it from anywhere. So this is the script will get executed immediately after logging in. Okay, so make sure you have environment selected at the top right side. If you do not have any environment, just come here, create one environment, and again go to the collection, and before logging in, select that environment. Then only it will work. Okay, otherwise you will get authentication failed error. Now just log in again. User token will get assigned. Now create asset. I'm just creating the basic asset here. You can see color, make, owner, model, and appraised value. Okay, so this data will get added, and ID will get created at the API side. I'm just sending it. Okay, this data got created and I will show you. Before that, I will just make a GET request with this ID. Okay, at the end, we have to add here ID. Okay, so we are able to add the data and get the data using API. So I wanted to show it in the CouchDB as well. Let me just show. Okay, my channel one Chaincode 1. We can see here some data got added by default for this. This API is configured for all the organization, but there are only first channel and the first Chaincode itself. In the constant, you can see my channel 1 and the Chaincode 1. These are the only two we can interact. But if you wanted to have more, you have to make the changes accordingly and do the operations. The folder structures and all the things are already there in the boilerplate code. You have to understand like how these things are flowing from front end to the blockchain network. So in the API, the folder structure is straightforward. Asset controller, first of all, route would be there. Inside the route, asset route, and it will go create asset to the service. And here we are just creating the data. This structure is exactly same, invocation of the transactions. And this is the working setup. You can always customize as per your business requirement. And this all the features are coming with the boilerplate code of our application. So you can create any kind of blockchain network using this tool, and any kind of issue if you are facing, just feel free to connect with me at any point of time on the WhatsApp, or maybe you can just directly mail me or connect me on Instagram, anywhere. That's it for this video. Thank you so much.